There's hope in relation to matters of health freedom and turning things back in relation to the tyrannical measures that Health Canada is taking. And there's hope in relation to their own personal health and the health of those around them, that people don't have to be enslaved to the disease or dysfunction that's plaguing them that we call mental illness. That there is hope, and that there's substance to that hope, that there is there's legitimacy to it. And so that's what people are walking away with. So we found people were really inspired.
Welcome to Truehope Cast, the official podcast of Truehope Canada, where we take a deep dive into the many psychological and physiological aspects of mental health. In a beautiful but wild world, this is the show for you if you're seeking motivation, inspiration, knowledge, and real-world solutions. I am your host, Simon Brazier, and today we have a powerful and deeply personal episode for you. We're pulling back the curtain on Epiphany, the Truehope Battle, an emotionally gripping 90-minute documentary that tells the unbelievable true story behind one of the most impactful mental health discoveries of our time. Joining me is my guest, David Stephan, who has spent the last 22 years with Truehope, helping over 100,000 individuals worldwide transform their lives using the very discovery featured in this film. In this episode, David and I unpack the legacy, the heartbreak, the legal battles, and the scientific breakthroughs that led to this extraordinary movement in natural mental health care, and we'll tell you how to be a part of it. Mark your calendars, July 22nd and 23rd, Truehope Canada is hosting an exclusive live online screening of Epiphany, the Truehope Battle. It's going to include a special Q&A with David himself, director Todd Harris, and constitutional lawyer and NHPPA president Mr. Sean Buckley. Plus, every ticket holder is automatically entered into a nightly prize draw to win a $350 bundle of Truehope's life-saving supplements. This is more than just a film, it's a movement, and it starts here. Enjoy the show. Okay, hi David, welcome back to the show. How are you? What is going well?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on, Simon. What's going well? Well, there's a lot going well. Life is fantastic, and there's always something exciting. So I'm sure we don't have the next hour for me to tell about adventures of, I don't know, planting new bushes and trees on the property, and homesteading and greenhousing and all that type of stuff. But lots is going well. And plants are growing fantastic, and we've been getting rain, and that's lovely.
Beautiful. Well, let's just start and get into the heart of it. What makes Epiphany, the Truehope Battle, a story that people need to see right now?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. It's actually multifaceted. Two main reasons. We did a tour, Todd and I. Todd Michael Harris, he's the producer or director of Epiphany, the Truehope Battle. Did a fantastic job of it. In fact, I had no creative input into it. I was part of it. I was interviewed in it amongst many others, and it was just done really fantastic, outlining the Truehope story, or the Truehope discovery, if you will. And so we did a month-long tour, and what came out of that was two main needs within the Canadian populace. And the first one being is that it highlights a phenomenal discovery in the field of nutrition, pioneering mineral supplementation, showing how it can be the most impactful correcting therapy for mental health conditions. And so, example, somebody has bipolar disorder, which is, runs in my family. And it's amazing that when you supplement the minerals back into the body that the body needed all along, how it's correcting through the proper production of neurotransmitters, how it's correcting things like bipolar or depression or ADHD. And so that's the first thing as to why people should watch it, because mental health issues are on the rise. In fact, when you break it down and you take a look at it, 1 out of 20 deaths last year in Canada were due to MAID, or medical assistance in death, showing that there is a significant need to help correct situations surrounding why somebody would want to prematurely take their life. Now, obviously, some of those deaths can be allotted to the fact that they were terminally ill with maybe cancer or something like that. But there's a major crisis going on where people are feeling major despair, and they're questioning as to why they're even here. And so that's the first reason why people should watch this now. whether it be for themselves or whether that be for a loved one. Every one of us is impacted by mental health conditions, whether it's a friend or a close family member, or whether it's within ourselves as well. And so that's the first reason why people should watch this, is that it shows that there's a major discovery in the field of mental health using proper nutrition to completely correct those types of situations by merely correcting the deficiencies that were in our bodies all along. The second reason why people should really watch it is it highlights the battle aspect, that when this discovery was made and research began to take place on it, independent research out of universities, showing that it was over 3 times more effective than antidepressant treatments, there was a battle that emerged wherein Health Canada stepped in and did everything in their power to try to shut us down and to make us go away, to prevent us from being able to supply these nutrients to Canadians. And the reason being is because these nutrients were helping correct things like depression and bipolar disorder. And the research validated that. And so Health Canada stepped in and did that. And the reason why this is relevant today is that Health Canada is waging war again against the natural health community, wherein they're coming down with tighter regulations to basically push companies out of the marketplace, or if they remain in the marketplace, to make these natural health products largely unaffordable to the Canadian public. And so this is currently going on, and people need to understand what's going on, and that Health Canada clearly is not our friend, that they don't have your health within their best interests, or they don't have your best interests within mind, that they're not looking out for your health. And that became abundantly clear, and that's illustrated within this film. And that there is a plan of action that we need to take to ensure that Health Canada does not have their way in shutting down the natural health industry and preventing Canadians from having access to oftentimes life-saving supplements.
Absolutely. And just as you talk about that, I think that, I have very frequent conversations with people about the mental health industry that, that I work in, and the mental health industry that people experience with just like their friends, family, what they read on Twitter, on the news, etc. And everyone would agree that mental health disease is an all-time high. People around them, people within their families, people in their close circles are massively struggling. The amount of psychotropic medications just being dished out for these sets of symptoms is at an all-time high as well. And we're spending so much money on this massive problem, but we're not seeing any benefit, considering all the diagnoses, all the drugs, and all the money we're spending on it, and the health of people is just viciously declining. So I just feel like, I've seen this movie, I know what it's all about, and I see the world around me, especially when it comes to mental health and people's experience. We all seem to need an epiphany right now. We all need some sort of alternative and hope, and that's what we're all about here at Truehope. So it's a brilliant movie that I think a lot of people are going to benefit from and really resonate with what they feel and see and hear around them. And I know this film is obviously deeply personal to you and your family. What was it like reliving your kind of family's journey, the loss, the epiphany, and the fight to share it through the lens of this documentary?
Yeah, so Todd made it very true to form. And the film is it's done very fantastically. We didn't have a single person say, I wish I could get that hour and a half back, after we literally went and across the country and did about 30 events across the country in 36 days. Not a single person had a complaint about the film. It was very, very well done. It's very captivating. It's very emotionally compelling, or emotionally riveting, really. And, looking at the film, we've lived the situation over and over as we've continued to share this message of hope across the country over the last 2.5 decades. And so it's interesting to see it, up on the screen like that, done in such a fantastic way. But it's nothing really out of the norm or new. I'm trying to think. There's a handful of documentaries that have been done over the years on us, and it actually all began with Discovery Health Channel in September of 2002. So 23 years ago, nearly, they released a documentary on us called Impossible Cures. So remember, this is pretty fresh into our discovery. We hadn't yet had the major battles with Health Canada during that time, and it was very well done. And it was on Discovery Health Channel, and it was put into 50 different countries, translated into multiple languages, and that's really what put Truehope on the map, internationally speaking. And so, looking at that documentary, and then looking at the other documentaries that have been done over the years on Truehope, this one is done in such a way that it really highlights more of the battle aspect, to bring this work forward, to the fact that there was a major battle surrounding the fact that we just wanted to do something good. We wanted to share what our family had been blessed with. And that just by trying to share that and to bless the lives of others, that there would be major opposition that arose against us. And so from that perspective, it's by far the best film that's been done to date on Truehope. But even just communicating, the heart-wrenching issues, the trauma, the suicide of my mother, the suicide of my grandfather, and the fact that there was going to be more suicides within my home, having 8 siblings at the time, 9 children my mother and father had, and all of us suffering with mental health conditions in various ways. There was going to be more suicides, and that's what led to the discovery of Truehope, or of the Truehope supplements, the Empower Plus, that corrects these mental health conditions. So to see it, to relive it, to see it from that angle it's kind of interesting, to see it done from a new approach that's quite fresh, and it brings back some memories, childhood memories that typically you kind of put on the shelf and whatnot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And there's a really powerful theme of divine inspiration in the movie. Can you tell us a little bit more about that epiphany moment, and maybe how it led to the creation of Empower Plus, without giving too much away?
Oh, absolutely. If you're talking to my dad, and we all agree, this was nothing more than an answer to prayer. It was a miracle. It's when we take a look at it, it is the biggest discovery in the field of mental health, perhaps in all history, and the science validates that. And it came about due to a lot of desperate pleadings and prayers, to our Father in heaven, to the Creator of the heavens and the earth. And nothing miraculous happened overnight when my father began in desperation to plead and to pray, because he couldn't bear to have another suicide. He had already lost his wife of 22 years to suicide. And now he was watching his 9 children go through the same type of situation, where my older sister's in and out of the psych ward on a regular basis. When she's not in the psych ward, she had to be on 24-hour supervision. My brother Joseph is homicidal, suicidal. And so he's seeing how the medications aren't working. And so he says his epiphany moment was when, after months of pleading and praying, and information starting to come into his life surrounding nutrition, how he's walking down a hallway one day with a colleague, and he has this epiphany moment where he feels that he needs to tell his colleague about what's happening at home. And his colleague communicated some things in relation to the animal feed industry that he had been involved in for 20 years at that point in time, formulating feed for hogs across Western Canada and Western United States, and how they were correcting irritability issues, that's termed as ear and tail biting syndrome within pigs, how they completely corrected that using nutrition, using the proper vitamin and mineral supplementation. And I want to emphasize the word proper, because there's 2 main elements to it: balance and bioavailability. We don't absorb rock form minerals, and if the minerals are out of balance, you can actually create more dysfunction in the body than you correct. And so when that was communicated to my father, even though he had tried already a lot of alternative modalities with my older brother, and none of them really worked, when that was communicated, that was when my father had this epiphany, knowing that it was the answer. And it's a good thing he had that epiphany, because if he didn't, when the first round of supplement treatments came into play and they didn't work, my father would have said, oh, I guess vitamin mineral supplementation also doesn't work alongside all the other things that we've already tried. But because he had that epiphany moment, he persisted, and they finally found a combination of vitamins and minerals that created major change within a very short period of time in my older brother Joseph. And that set everything in motion that would then make it so that my sister would never go to a psych ward again, never require 24-hour supervision again, go on to have 3 more children with her husband. They're still married today. Here we are, that was 1996. They have a beautiful family. And my brother Joseph, same thing. And so, yeah, that would kind of encapsulate what the whole epiphany moment would have been, is the fact that this was a miraculous answer to prayer that ultimately is being validated in science as the greatest discovery in the field of mental health that we've seen.
And, there's a bold claim at the core of this movie that mental health can be transformed with nutrition. What would you say to skeptics who hear that and then immediately dismiss it?
Well, I'm living it. Right? So if I'm dealing with a skeptic, I mean, they could try to invalidate my own life experience. They could try to invalidate all of the
that happens.
Observations.
That happens. People will certainly just say, oh, that's your story, and whatever, you're just one person, and it could have been this, that, or anything. That certainly happens as a defense mechanism against things like this.
Oh, absolutely. We have a natural tendency to try to protect our paradigms, right? And if nutrition correcting mental health conditions is not within our paradigm, and we have a predominantly heavy paradigm leaning towards pharmaceutical modalities being the only modalities that have any credibility, then yeah, it doesn't matter how much evidence that you supply them. Chances are they're not going to be willing to shift their paradigm. But I can share observations. I can share my own personal experience all day long. The beautiful thing is that there's now 35 medical journal publications on our foundational formula, being the Empower Plus. And what that illustrates or validates is exactly what I'm communicating. It validates my own life experience. It validates the experience of hundreds of thousands of other people across the world over the last 2.5 decades. And so actually we're coming up on 3 decades now. And so, there's a tremendous a body of experience here where you've got, a lot of people that you would have to try to invalidate their experience and say, you actually didn't get better on it, even though you tried everything else and you did the medications and they didn't work for you, but this is a placebo. But if it was a placebo and you were able to make placebo work that well for you, then why didn't the medications play the role of placebo in the first place, right? So it's interesting. Skeptics will always be there, and it's unfortunate when people come at us with an unhealthy level of skepticism. I love to see healthy skepticism being applied to all aspects of life. We should be questioning everything, but we should do so from a healthy perspective where we're in it to learn, not in it to reject abundantly clear evidence that could actually be quite a blessing in our lives.
Well, you and I are part of the Truehope team, and I've been a part of it for a long time now. I think coming up to 9 years, and we consistently during our team meetings we talk about the success stories, we talk about the transformations, and there are chilling, quite remarkable goosebump in involving stories that we hear very, very frequently, and I'm in a beautiful position here at Truehope where I get to hear the stories through social media, and I get to hear them from Facebook comments, just very, very simple ways in which people are expressing the fact that this product, Empower Plus, has absolutely reversed and changed their life after sometimes decades of misery, bouncing from doctor to doctor, drug to drug, side effects to side effects, and then finally, looking for their last hope, this true hope, this epiphany moment. They find this product, and it absolutely changes their life in some cases in very short periods of time. And I know that you and Truehope and your father and the whole team have helped, well over hundreds of thousands of people with Empower Plus change their lives. Is there one particular transformational story that still gives you the chills?
Ooh,
You've
there's
probably got a
definitely
lot to choose from.
there is a lot to choose from. Yeah, it's, that's an interesting question. That is actually a question that I would have loved to have prepared for, right? Because there's so much experience. I mean, what kept us fueled up as we were going to all these health shows across Canada is the fact that year after year, every time that we would go and the first year we'd be seeing new faces. The second year we'd see those same faces, oftentimes these frequenters at these health shows, and then we'd be getting the feedback. I'm on your products and it's done this for me, and then, it's just, you hear these beautiful transformation stories. But there is one that stands out, and actually anybody can go on YouTube and view it, because it's a transformation story that I had the opportunity of filming back in, I want to say, February of 2007. And so my wife and I went on tour at that point in time, and we went and recorded a bunch of testimonials. And what it was this father, he has three sons, faithful wife, sticks by his side through good, through bad, they really went through, hell and high water type of thing, as in their relationship, because of the mental illness, the bipolar that was plaguing him. And he would go into these bouts of mania where he would just get them into debt, just rack up all the debt, go and spend like crazy, buy everything that he ever wanted. And then he'd come off the bouts of mania and then have to try to liquidate things because he'd put them into such financial hardship. But then he'd go through this depression, and he had no care for his wife at all. Really, like, he just wasn't mindful of his wife. He wasn't mindful of his three sons. And so I had the opportunity to sit down with him and record him and his wife separately. She's in tears as she's relaying everything. And towards the end, she's in tears of joy, saying that she had the husband back that she'd originally married. And now we're talking, like, at this point in time, it's probably 25 years that they've been married at this point in time. I can't recall exactly. But they're all of their children were growing up. I think their youngest son was 18 or something like that. So she got the husband back. She's communicating things like, when he comes in the door, he asks how I am, and he actually means it. He wants to know how I'm doing. Whereas for a couple decades, that wasn't taking place at all. Like, he just didn't have any care for her at all. Because of just the issues surrounding the mental illness he was suffering with. He was so disconnected. He's communicating how he has a much deeper relationship with his three boys now that he never had before. So here he gets this new lease on life. I could imagine that there would be elements of remorse and regret, thinking, my children are now into their adult years, and I never had the ability to have a decent relationship with them. But now he did. I mean, better late than never, right? And so that was a beautiful story. The way that is articulated so well, where you get to see from all parties involved. I got to meet, I believe his two of his sons showed up on scene when I was recording them at their house. Got to meet them and stuff like that. And just to see the impact that just this simple nutrition, proper nutrition, but very simple nutrition, had on completely transforming not just his life, but his relationship and his entire family. And in fact, at one point in time, I can't remember whether it was him that communicated it or whether it was his wife communicated it, but that this saved their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
We hear that from time, quite like semi-frequently, that this saved my life, and that's beautiful. But to see how now it's not just one life being impacted, we have immediately 5 lives that have been impacted, and then obviously his coworkers and everybody else. The impact is widespread, really. But that was a really beautiful story, because you just get to see the power that proper nutrition can have in our lives, that would allow for us to come to the table in a much more meaningful way when it comes to relationships.
Yeah, and what's not particularly spoken about too much is the effect mental health may have on an individual, but also the other people in the family, and sometimes the caretakers, the other partner, or even friends or family, and how that plays a massive toll on their mental health. They may not have a diagnosis, but seeing their spouse or family member or good friend really, really struggling, and then being able to reverse that, and individually taking like Empower Plus, and then what that does for your health, it just amplifies that energy outwards to people's children's, to their spouse, to their friends, because people are changing their psychology and their behaviors very, very quickly, and they become new people. And you can't not notice that, especially within a community. You're wondering, like, what's happening, what's happening with her, what's happening with him, what are they doing differently? Like, something's changed, something's changing. And some of those stories that I hear are when, a mother who's got partner to take care of, kids to take care of, and pets to take care of, and a house to take care of. They're very frequently at the center of a household, and that can be a very, very stressful, very demanding. It is a very stressful, it is a very demanding role. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And when you get those individuals who are maybe, genetically susceptible to nutritional deficiencies, or have been chronically nutrient deficient for a long period of time, and then they're able to start taking this bioavailable micronutrient form that, we said is validated by 35 peer-reviewed medical journals from all around the world, you start nutrating that central figure. That's just going to amplify and have this beautiful cascade that just energizes way beyond the family, way beyond the house, out into the community. And a lot of the individuals who end up finding our product, it's through word of mouth. It's seeing transformation in their own lives, in their own reality, and then seeing the possibility that maybe there's another alternative than just getting another prescription from your doctor to deal with anxiety or depression or whatever that may be.
Exactly. One of the most unbelievable parts to this, and it's hard to actually articulate, and that's why it's largely almost unbelievable, but you have to see it, is the element that it has, that just simple vitamins and minerals in the proper form that your body can actually assimilate, how much it transforms our lives in who we, in our essence, are, how we, right? Like our behaviors, our personalities, whether or not we're kind or we're snippy. And there's even, if we get deeper into it, there's a large spiritual component to this. And it's really amazing how our connectivity increases by just making sure our body has what it needs. And that's the hard thing to articulate, is to bridge the gap as to, oh, come on, like something just, so simple, like, right? Proper iron, molybdenum, magnesium, calcium, phosphorus, boron, right? Like selenium, all these different minerals. Like how would those things change who I am? But they do. They really do. They change our behaviors. They change how we see the world. It's just really amazing. In fact, there's a live blood analysis who would do live blood clinics across BC, and she would promote our products heavily because she saw tangibly the difference in the live blood samples with those who took the Empower Plus versus those who didn't. And I sat down with her one time, and she communicated something quite profound. She said, the way that you know if somebody's taking enough Empower Plus is when they begin to feel the love. And that was really quite astounding to make, such a simplistic, humanistic connection to it in that way, that, and it's true. When you have enough, because all of a sudden you're able to connect with people. And we all know that obviously if somebody's overcome with stress or anxiety, they're not connecting with people around them. Their mind is consumed. Their mind is elsewhere. You can be having a conversation with them, but it's just kind of going past them. They're so self-consumed and barriered up that they can't meaningfully connect with somebody around them. Whereas when you take proper nutrition, and all of a sudden it's alleviating that, your body's able to handle the natural stresses of life. Chronic anxiety is no longer a thing. All of a sudden they're connecting with people around them. They're externalizing with those around them, rather than being so internally consumed with whatever it is that's plaguing them, or that they think is plaguing them.
Yeah, well said. And I think something that I've often spoken about in conversations with people when introducing the idea of using nutrition to support your mental health and physical health is the fact that these people who do get prescribed very harsh psychotropic medications, they are not Adderall deficient. They are not Zoloft deficient. They're not Prozac deficient. They're not Ritalin deficient. They are massively chronically nutrient deficient.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a product out there that you can take that can very much reverse that quite quickly. And you can end up being a completely new person. And you're talking about having a love deficiency, having a freedom deficiency, a hope deficiency. Like for me, like that just they carry the same frequencies that we're talking about, whether you're talking about the right amount of minerals or vitamins in your body, and being able to do you have the ability to possess the love necessary to be a functional human being? It's certainly a spiritual question. There's absolutely no doubt. I've spoken to many people on the podcast about this spiritual deficiency that so many people are having, and I think people are reaching out for it more than ever, whether they're aware of it or not. That spiritual aspect is absolutely huge, and it's certainly a sense that I think that we have lost in our viciously sped up cultural evolution, and our biological evolution has not been able to catch up with that. And it's that spiritual element that really keeps us grounded to all the things that make this life worth living. And I'd love to just like talk about the actual live event that we're going to be having. So for people who are going to be attending the live screening in July, what can they expect from the Q&A session that we're going to have right after the screening with yourself, Director Todd Harris, and the president of the NHPPA, Sean Buckley? What can people expect from that piece?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic Q&A. We've already put it to the test in 2 different locations physically. When on tour, Sean Buckley was able to come out and join with both myself and Todd Michael Harris. And so then now, questions are being fielded about, Empower Plus and the Truehope products, because people have immediate need and they want to know more about it for themselves or their loved ones. Then there's questions about health freedom, what's going on in Canada. Sean Buckley is the leading expert in Canada on that. He's spearheading really the plan of action to help reverse some of the stuff that Health Canada has put into place that would ultimately decimate the natural health industry and prevent your access to life-saving natural health products. And so he's an expert in that field. He's also a constitutional lawyer. He's represented numerous companies, including Truehope, which you'll learn about in the documentary, in the film. He's represented Truehope and other natural health companies that Health Canada has come against. And so he's by far the leading expert in all of Canada when it comes to that particular topic. And then Todd Michael Harris is a phenomenal film producer who's been producing films for quite some time, and he's made some really groundbreaking films over the last number of years here. And one of them was called Uninformed Consent. Many people are aware of that one. It was translated into multiple languages, has millions of views across the world, and has really opened a lot of people's eyes in relation to what's going on. And that was largely surrounding pharmaceutical corruption and some of the, really surrounding the COVID shot and what was going on there, and how nobody was operating with any level of informed consent because nobody knew what was going on there. So he's made some very groundbreaking films. So the Q&A would, lots of people are asking him, what caused you to want to make this film? Because it was of his own volition. He chose to make this film and he moved forward with it. And it's serving to bless a lot of people's lives. And that's why we're getting behind it to do these online screenings and to make sure that we can be there for the Q&A to leave people off with not just an emotionally riveting film, but also a lot of knowledge that would help them navigate moving forward, whether in matters of health or in matters of health freedom.
Yeah, I think the goal is to charge people up. It's to open up people's eyes to just an alternative way of thinking, and then to have people right there who can answer questions that will pop up, because a lot of questions will come up for a lot of people. A lot of beliefs will be challenged, and to have yourself, Todd, and Sean available to kind of take on those 3 different sections is going to be just an amazing asset, and well worth the $10 for the ticket alone, I think. And you've lived this battle for well over a couple of decades, and if someone watching this film walks away with just one realization, what do you hope that is?
Well, you just said it. Hope. They realize there's hope. There's hope in relation to matters of health freedom and turning things back in relation to the tyrannical measures that Health Canada is taking. And there's hope in relation to their own personal health and the health of those around them, that people don't have to be enslaved to the disease or dysfunction that's plaguing them that we call mental illness. That there is hope, and that there's substance to that hope, that there is, there's legitimacy to it. And so that's what people are walking away with. So we found people were really inspired when they were leaving the events that we did. And like I said, we did about 30 events in 36 days across the country, all the way from Vancouver Island over to Ottawa. And the feedback was almost the same in every single place. Sometimes the conversations would be more predominantly surrounding health freedom. Sometimes they'd be more about health. And so it's quite dynamic that way. But everybody was walking away empowered in one way or another from the information that they were getting, not just from the film, but from the discussion that took place afterwards.
Love it. Absolutely wonderful. And then finally, to those people on the fence about getting tickets, what would you say to them directly, heart to heart?
Oh, you'll never, I promise you this, you won't get done, the hour and a half film and then, hour Q&A afterwards and say, that's 2.5 hours of time I'll never get back. I can promise you that. That was one thing that I was gauging as we went across the country, and I can confidently make that statement. And if for some reason that anybody ever had that mindset, hey, I'm sure we could figure out a way to refund you. So don't sit on the fence. This is one of those things that many people have reported thus far that they're changed over. It's absolutely paradigm challenging, but it's paradigm challenging in a way that it's enlightening. People are walking away with a better understanding of how mental illness works, and as such, a better understanding of how to correct those situations that plague so many people, that so many people are enslaved to. So if you're sitting on the fence, just take the plunge. Just do it. It's $10, 2.5 hours time. And like I said, I can promise you with a great level of confidence that you will not regret it, that you will come away with some life-changing information. And there's a good chance that your life will be forever changed if you apply the information that you receive in the film and in the Q&A afterwards.
Fantastic. Yep. So mark your calendars, July 22nd and 23rd coming up pretty soon here. Truehope Canada is going to be hosting this exclusive live online screening of Epiphany, the Truehope Battle, and it's going to include a Q&A with David, the director, Todd Harris, and constitutional lawyer, NHPPA president, Mr. Sean Buckley. And also, plus, every ticket holder is automatically entered into a nightly prize draw to win a $350 bundle of all of our products here at Truehope. Very much life-saving supplements for a lot of people. So it's way more than a movie. It's a movement. And you can find your tickets here at truehopecanada.com/events. Links to pick up your tickets right now and even watch the trailer to get more information, to get even more amped up for this amazing event. You can visit truehopecanada.com/events. That link will be in the description for your convenience. That's kind of it. David, do you have any final words for us?
Hey, I just thank you, Simon, for hosting this and for getting this information out. It's served to be a blessing for many people across the country, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do this in a venue or through a medium in which we can actually have even more people than we were able to get out at some of the events. So thank you for doing this and making this happen.
Beautiful. Thank you, David, so much. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to both events. And yeah, again, make sure you get your tickets, truehopecanada.com/events. Get your tickets before they sell out. But that is it for this special episode of Truehope Cast, the official podcast of Truehope Canada. Links to everything you may need will be in the description, so be sure to check that out. You can subscribe to us if you fancy that. You can leave us a review if you fancy that. But other than that, that's it for this week. We'll see you soon.